Hi guys, it's Matt here from PilotPracticeExams.com, where you can pass in half the time. So this video is part 2 of a series. Part 1 dealt with the top half of the flight planning or flight notification sheet for Air Services Australia. Part 2 is going to deal with the bottom half, or the fuel, specifically the fuel calculation. Now I need a very, very strong disclaimer here. If you mess this up, you could die, okay, or you could kill passengers, friends, family, relatives. So big disclaimer, this you must discuss with your instructor over and over and over until you get it right. This is merely to help you, and you must not trust anything I say over an instructor. So with that said, let's move on. So what you want to do, the first thing you need to do is you've got to plug in your times here and your leaders. Now the reason they have these various boxes is because sometimes you're going to climb and descend and cruise and have different alternates at different parts of your flight. So if, for example, your first section you've got 100 minutes of cruise, and then you've got 2 alternates, and the furthest one is 30 minutes, and then so you total that up, and then you go on to leg 2, but your alternate might be like, say, 50 minutes. So it would need its own box, right? Sometimes you're able to get away with 1, sometimes you need 2, sometimes you need 3, sometimes you need 4. It depends on what's happening. Now, if you're going to have big climbs and descents, definitely you need to use multiple ones of these boxes, and sometimes you're going to have to go onto a second sheet anyway, and I recommend you do. Anyway, let's just have a quick look at how you do it. So the first thing you do is you put in your climb amount, and then you estimate that. So let's say we're going to use 21 litres per hour for this aircraft. And we're going to climb, at climb we use 21 litres per hour, and then we're going to climb for 20 minutes. So that 20 minutes is a third of an hour, a third of 21 is 7 litres. So that's how we came up with that. Okay, now let's use nice round figures just to make this fairly quick. So let's say you're going to cruise for 40 minutes, and you use, I'll just get that in the right spot, 40 minutes, and you're going to use, say, 20 litres per hour. So that would be 2/3 of 20, so you just calculate that out. I'll actually use a calculator right now to do it, because you should be using your flight calculator to do this. So what you do is you put your 1 hour mark on the amount of litres, so I'm putting it on 40. Okay, and then you read back, you put your 1 hour mark on the amount of litres per hour. So let's say we're going to use 20, what do we say? Let's go with, say, 17 litres per hour. Okay, so I've got the 1 hour mark on 17, and then what I do is I read back to 40 minutes, and it is going to use around about 11.5 litres. So I'm going to go with 11.5. Then what you want to do is our alternate for that leg might be, say, let's go with 30 minutes off track. That's probably too long for that, but we're just giving you an example. Now, so half an hour at 17 is going to be 8.5 litres. So our subtotal is going to be, what's that going to be? 1 hour 30, so that's going to be 90 minutes. Is that right? 60, yep, 90 minutes. And then over here, 0.5 and 0.5 is 1, and that makes it 12, 20, 27. I'm just cross-checking. I can do that quicker in my head, but I'm cross-checking. So I'm very conscious that this is a huge responsibility to teach people how to do this. So again, discuss this with your instructor. Now, just before we get onto the reserves here, I want to quickly flick over to just 2 things you ought to be aware of. Okay, so if you go to your AIP and you go to AIP 1-195, what you'll find is there's a whole section there on the requirements for holding various fuel reserves depending on the weather forecast at your destination and en route, etc. So then the other thing you want to check is this, and it's mentioned in the AIP there where I just showed you a minute ago, is this CAAP 234-1. guidelines for aircraft fuel requirements, okay? Now, it's really quick if you use your electronic flight book to find this stuff, because you can just search for it. Now, the bit that we're interested here in this is this. They've got a table for, and you should take a screenshot of this right now. This is something you're going to need. Okay, so they've got a table for variable fuel reserves and fixed fuel reserves. Now, interestingly, we're here in this part of the course only dealing with private and VFR pilots. So the requirement for a variable fuel reserve is actually nil, right? But the recommendation, okay, is 10%. And I wouldn't like to see people using nil. That's something, again, to discuss with your instructor. VFR and IFR fixed reserves, okay, piston engines, you must have 45 minutes. And you must actually have that. So you don't have to have that when you land, but you must have that available, planned for in your plan, and it should be in your aircraft when you take off. If by some chance you end up taking a little bit longer and you land with, say, 30 minutes worth of fuel and CASA ramp checked you, you wouldn't be in trouble. They would simply want to know why you didn't have the amount of fuel left that you had predicted. So let's have a look at this now. The variable reserve from that table that I just showed you from the CAAP, they're recommending 10%, so that's 9 minutes. Okay, so we'll just put that in there. The fixed reserve, they said 45 minutes. We don't have a choice with that. It must be 45. The holding is what you are required for holding, prior to takeoff and on landing. Now, depending on how many legs you're flying, that could multiply out. So, for example, if you're going from Port Macquarie to Tamworth to Scone to Corinda, and you're going to land at all of those, then that could multiply out, and so could your climb minutes up here. But let's just say you're doing a single leg flight, and I think holding also is holding in the circuit. So let's say you've got to do a couple of orbits before you can get in the circuit because there's lots of traffic when you arrive. Then what you would do, let's pop in 10 minutes there, okay, and then our taxi fuel. So let's go with, this also includes your warm-up. So most aircraft take at least, probably depending on the time of year, minimum 5, up to around about 10 minutes to warm up. So I would like to allow probably at least, and I'm not taking into account how many legs here, but let's allow a minimum of, say, 15 minutes. Now, you don't want to just pluck these from the air. You do need to try and calculate them reasonably accurately. Now, we now need to convert that to litres. So what I do is I set my 1 hour on 17 litres per hour on my flight computer. I'll just bring it up. I'll bring you up a photo. So I've set the 1 hour mark on the 17 there. Now, what we need to do here is we're then just going to read off each of those. So 9 minutes, that's 1 hour. All we need to do is go all the way around to 9 there. Okay, and that is going to be 2.5 litres. Okay, and then when we read off at 45 minutes, it's going to be there, which is going to be about 13 litres. And 10 holding fuel, we're going to go all the way around to 10, which is there. It's going to be almost 3 litres. And then 15, we're going to read off, it's down below there, and I'll get that and I'll plug it in. Okay, so I've plugged all those figures in. Now, bear in mind the taxi, we're not operating at full revs there. In fact, we're warming up most of it, so we're actually operating really low revs. I worked it out that we're probably about under 10 litres per hour, and I think we're actually well under that. So that came out at 1.7 when I used the calculator for 15 minutes. So I just rounded up to 2. So then what you do is you just tally up your fuel required, your minutes and your fuel required, which I'll do now. Okay, so that 169 now, what I've done is tallied up those and tallied up those. Now don't forget I used a lower fuel burn here. So when we cross-check it over here, this number is going to be slightly lower than if we just calculate it all out at 17 litres per hour. So, but up here you've got higher as well. So let's just cross-check and make sure we're in the ballpark. So again, we put the 1 hour on the 17 litres, and then we need to come around until we get to the 169 minutes. Now, if you have a look, I'm not sure whether you can see it there. I'll just blow it up. there's these tiny little numbers. Let me show you. I'll have to drag this around a little bit. So there's 1 hour, and then you'll notice here it says 1 hour 30, 2 hours, 2 hours 30, 3 hours. So we want to go back 10 minutes, 170. So it's about there. So there's the 50 litre mark. There's the 45, 46, 47, 48. So it's about 48 litres. But we had at least 15 minutes where we were idling, holding, and things like that with lower fuel burn. So yes, we're in the ballpark. We've cross-checked, and I'm happy with that. Now again, please check these with your instructors. Now, the next thing we do is we then work out our fuel margin. So let's say you're going to carry 100 and you decide, right, I don't want to cut it right to the bone. Looking at my weight and balance, I can easily carry, say, 180, well, sorry, let's work backwards. You go, oh, I can easily, with the luggage and stuff that I'm carrying, I can easily carry, say, 60 litres. I don't want to cut it too fine. So then what you do is you use your calculator. So I'll grab that back again and just reduce it. And you go, right, okay, so here's 1 hour 17 litres. So if I go all the way around to 60 litres, how much time is that? And as you can see, that's going to be 3 hours, roughly 3 hours and 30 minutes there. Okay? We'll just be a little bit more accurate. It's going to be about 3 hours and 35. So 3 hours is 180 plus 30 is 210 plus 5, 215. So you've got the fuel margin is going to be let's go here. The endurance that you're going to have is going to be, what did we say, 215 minutes of flight, which means that the fuel margin is 215 minus 169. So we just whip out our calculator. 215 minus 169 equals, done something wrong there, 215 minus 169 equals 46 minute margin. So in other words, I can have messed all of this up. We can have, need a diversion, we can have to hold for 45 minutes when we get there, we can have to, and I'm still going to have a 46 minute margin up my sleeve. So in other words, if I'm on route and I decided I wanted to do an orbit of a nice waterfall, and it's going to take me 5 minutes, I know that I've now got 41 minutes of margin left. Very important that you keep calculating like that, because if you're flying somewhere scenic and you're doing things like that or circling above whales, you don't want to go anywhere near going above that 46 minute margin. So then the last thing you're going to do is make notes over here. So definitely you're going to make notes about your runway numbers. You're going to have frequency notes or frequency change locations. I like to put those up the top, that's why I space it out. But these are the types of things you're going to put in here. AWS phone numbers or frequencies. The other things you might put in here is your 126.7, so you don't forget it. Sorry, that should be 126.7, and then also your Brisbane Centre, which might be 128.55, or your Melbourne Centre, depending on where you're flying. And then you might also have, for example, tanks. If you're flying on an aircraft with 2 tanks, you might want to swap tanks at, say, 40 and 80 minutes. Okay, so you can put any notes in there that you want, and then the last thing that you're going to do is you're just going to fill out these details down here. So your call sign might be, VH Yankee Kilo Bravo, and then the phone number, and then the fax number, okay, whatever it is. Right, and then that is ready for you to fly and will send off. So So that's that side of the flight notification form. So I hope that's helped. I'm Matt from PilotPracticeExams.com, where you can pass in half the time. Please give us a like or a share. It's the only way that they know that this is a valuable video, that YouTube will rank it. And also, if you are doing your RAAus, your RPL or your PPL, head over to PilotPracticeExams.com. Don't forget we have a part 1 to this video where we looked at the top half of this sheet. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.